In this video, we're going to go over everything you need to know about the aftermarket Dasaita head unit. What's up, viewers? I've had about a week with this aftermarket head unit by Dasaita, and it's been an absolute pleasure using this guy during my commute. This aftermarket head unit by Dasaita is basically a complete Android tablet with the functionalities of the Rav4. You still have access to your cameras, your warnings about your doors being open, your fuel economy, your radio. It connects to your phone when you want to make phone calls, and if you use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you still have that too. But what's really great and what makes this thing completely stand out is that you have access to the App Store by Google to add all of the apps you want and customize the interface to be the way you like it. So my goal in this video is to cover all of the key features you gain with this head unit as it relates to the Rav4 and what you lose by going with this head unit. Later in the video, after I cover some of the key important features, I'm going to go into the questions that were asked in the previous video, the installation video, and answer those if I didn't already cover it in the features. Then what I'm going to do is remove the head unit and see if I can secure it better into the dashboard. I've had zero problems with it so far, but I do want to make it more secure. So with that said, let's get into it. One of the big things that everybody is curious about when it comes to an aftermarket head unit is the sound quality. My Rav4 is very modified. I have JBL dashboard speakers that I installed. I have door speakers that I installed. I sound deadened the entire door and the rear cargo area. And I installed a spare tire subwoofer. So my audio experience is going to be different than somebody else's. But what I can say is that it is not worse than Toyota's. I think it's certainly better. And one reason why I say that is because this thing has customization of the frequencies that come out of your speakers. So you have full control of that. There's also a fader and delay function as well. So you can control the timing that the front speakers and the back speakers hit your ears. So it's a really unique feature if you want to play with that. Also, I believe the Toyota head unit has bass roll-off so that you don't blow your speakers. Basically, the low frequency range of audio is reduced so that you don't have big bass, because these the door speakers are very cheaply made. So this one does not have that sort of bass roll-off. And I really realized that in my spare tire subwoofer that really gave a loud bang to my ears that I had to reduce the gain and the boost on my remote. From the stock head unit interface, you can access your sound signal controls with the button over here. The first screen you see are the frequencies that you can control. So you can have your low frequency and your high frequency. There are presets that you can utilize as well if you want. If we go to the next screen, you can control some of the other features if you have RCA cables, I believe they work for. And then this last one controls where the sound should focus. So you can have your front seats, your rear seats, the driver, the passenger. You can also just select the presets that are available here. There is a fader and delay function as well if you want to use that. You do need to play around with it so you can tune it to the specific location that you want the audio to hit. But I don't play with it too much. I just leave it alone. And then I leave this in the center. In the Toyota head unit, where I believe there is bass roll-off so you don't blow your speakers, the low-level frequencies are basically reduced so that you don't have bass, and then you just focus more on the higher frequency range that the speakers can handle. It's probably not this dramatic, but this is just an example. I did mention in my previous video that I don't use the radio feature of the Rav4, but this does have full access to the radio. So you have your AM, you have your FM, you have storage locations to save your stations, and then you can cycle through the frequencies very quickly by sliding over here, or you can probably scan to the next one. I have the sound off because of the copyright material, so you're not going to hear anything. But there is AM, FM radio if that's something you listen to during your commute. Another key feature that a lot of people will care about is navigation and maps. This head unit utilizes Google Maps, and you can utilize Google Maps offline by downloading the area of the map you are most interested in. I pretty much download a very large section of where I spend most of my time, so that when I am without internet or without Wi-Fi, I can still navigate to a destination without any issues. You can see right now I am connected to Wi-Fi, so it pulls up all of my favorite destinations and spots, but it does also locate me as well. So the GPS is very good. The speed that the Rav4 is going, calculated by the GPS, is accurate to what my speedometer reads in the Rav4. So I have no concerns about the accuracy or precision of the GPS system of this aftermarket head unit. Another important feature is being able to make and receive phone calls. This head unit has a built-in function, and as long as you're connected with Bluetooth, you'll be able to do phone calls no problem, just as you would do with the OEM head unit. So you can dial numbers, you can see your contacts, you can see your call history, going, coming, missed. You can connect to different phones. So there's nothing you lose or gain. Maybe the interface is, I think, better in the aftermarket head unit versus the Toyota. This head unit integrates and communicates really well with the Rav4. If I were to open the door, it would show up on the display that my door is open and which door it is. Another thing that also works is when the car is on and I have it in reverse, the rear camera does work. What I get as a bonus is when I turn my steering wheel, lines show up and show me where my Rav4 would go relative to the steering wheel position, which was not a feature I had before. So that is a bonus that I got with this head unit, and I was really happy about that. My Rav4 does not have the technology package that gives you that bird's eye view, so I cannot comment if that works well or not. Another thing that people might care about is being able to view their fuel economy history while they were driving the Rav4. I know the original OEM head unit had that feature, I just never used it, and this vehicle does also have it. I don't know if it's better or worse. Over here on the right, you have your instantaneous miles per gallon. So while you're driving, you can see your fuel economy. And that's that white line that shows up on your dashboard. Then you have your fuel economy each minute of the drive. Over here, you have your average speed. I never really calculated if it is correct or not. This is the travel time. That never worked for me. It's always read 0. And then the mileage over here, 211, is how much miles I can go until empty, which matches what my dashboard says. The head unit does have accessories that you can connect to. One of them is tire pressure monitoring systems. I did not have that. I did not purchase it, but I imagine if I did and I connected it correctly, I would be able to read my tire pressures and the temperatures for all 4 wheels. There are some unique features in this that allow you to do some customization to your Rav4 that you would need to go to a dealership to do, or get this Carista OBD connecting tool to change some settings. This head unit has a control settings button where you can control what the button pressing does when you have your remote. You can control what happens when you go from park to drive and from drive to park, like which doors should lock and which doors should unlock. You can also control the amount of time these interior lights should remain on when you open and then close your door or you lock your door. I never tested it, but it does look like it can be controlled. Aside from that, I didn't play too much with the other stuff. So having said all that, going over the features, I'm going to go over some of the notes that I took from the questions that were asked. What do you lose with this head unit? I think the interface with the fuel economy is not as readable as it was in the Toyota one. And I'm not sure if I can change that layout to be more color friendly. You also don't get Sirius XM with this. However, you can go to the App Store and download the app. And as long as you have a hotspot, you'll be able to listen to Sirius XM. Another thing that is lost, and it kind of depends on your taste, is there's no physical buttons or knobs. One of the things that I liked was the volume knob, being able to turn up really fast or down really fast. Now you need to press on the screen to get the volume up or down, or you use your steering wheel. And that could, be a little slow depending on if your situation. Another thing you lose in installing this aftermarket head unit is the USB port that is located under the climate controls. That is the USB port you would normally connect to for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. In this head unit, it has no function. It is simply just a charger. You need to use the USB cables that were provided with the head unit and connect to that in order to get Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Once you have it connected to those cables, you open up this app called Z-Link, and that's what communicates with the phone to do Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Of course, you won't need Android Auto because this is basically that. Another negative about this head unit is that the screen is very glossy. While you're driving and watching your movies, you can see a lot of the reflection from the windows. And even as I'm recording this video, you can see the reflection from the rear window. So it's livable, and you can certainly go on the internet or Amazon and buy a screen protector that gives it a matte finish. I know a lot of people do that with like their iPads or something, because when you're outside, you're basically watching yourself than watching the material on the iPad. So no different for this. It's just it could be a little annoying. The other negative with the head unit is that there is no proper mounting point to the dashboard. You have to rely on the clips. And what I did was I made compression with the mounting bracket that came with the original Rav4. So I think that's something that they really missed out on. And I believe it's a problem with all the head units that every company makes for the Rav4. They just don't utilize that sort of safety feature or mechanic of this. What are some things that I can do now that I couldn't do with my Toyota head unit? I covered some of it. One is my reverse camera has lines, so when I turn my steering wheel, I can see where it's going. I can also see my reverse camera while I am actually driving, which is pretty cool if you want to see the guy behind you pick his nose. The other thing is the whole Android Play Store. You have access to probably 90% of the apps that you have on your phone, you have on your tablets, which is really, really cool because it gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of entertainment for your drive or for when you're sitting around in your car. What's also cool about this head unit, you have your voltage display of your battery. So if you're watching YouTube videos or something in here and your car is off, you can monitor this so that you don't kill your battery. Another thing that you gain, and this is more geared towards people who are very familiar with Android units, is the full customizability of the user interface. The system comes with this bluish icon theme pack that I'm not a fan of. It certainly works really well for 90% of the buyers. But for my tablet and for my phone, I use Nova Launcher. I won't go into what a launcher is. It's a whole new series for that. But Nova Launcher is what I use to customize my layout and my icons. So here I have a Google search bar. I have a clock. I have a widget here for my YouTube music. I have a button here to navigate me home instantly. Then my icon buttons are also different. So this is what my front camera looks like, my radio and my amplifiers, YouTube music. I have a dock over here to the right so that these buttons are what I use the most frequently. So they're always accessible to me no matter what screen I'm on. So this is what I do like about Android versus having this sort of bluish interface. Nothing wrong with it. It's just a personal taste. You do have the ability to program what these bottom buttons function for your head unit. So if I go to the Wheel Key Study app, I can press a button. So I'll press this voice button and it gives me all the options of what that button should do as a function. So just as an example, I will have it take me to the home screen and then we'll save it. And then so we're in the apps menu now. If I press this button, we should go home. So there you have it. If I'm in the Play Store, I can press this button here. And yes, so you can program each of these buttons to whatever you want. The other feature that I absolutely love about this head unit is you can watch movies or watch YouTube, watch videos while you're driving. I know that isn't safe and you should not do that. I don't recommend it, but it is there as an option. Makes your commute feel less of a commute when you can watch videos. Another thing that I like about this that I was previously concerned about was its responsiveness to touch. I feel that it is very responsive. It's certainly not as good as Samsung or Apple devices where it's like multi-touch and everything, but this thingy, it does respond to a finger It when you press something, it opens up really quickly. You're not waiting forever, unless of course you're downloading a big heavy app and the app has so much memory that it consumes. Then that should certainly take some time. But for the basic uses of this, I've had no problem with it at all. Another question was asked is if I would recommend this head unit. The simple answer is yes, I would recommend an Android head unit. They are night and day compared to what the Toyota OEM offers you. If you're a RAV4 owner that has like the base model and you have that small display, don't consider upgrading to the Audio Plus displays because those are like several $1,000s. You can simply get one of these and it'll do like 110% of whatever Toyota does. And it'll be a lot bigger, it'll have more customization, and it'll be a fraction of the price, ranging from like $300 to $500 versus last time I checked for the Toyota one, they're like $2,800. So definitely consider one of these versus going to Toyota, but certainly keep your Toyota head unit because you never know if you need that for some service or warranty claims. My RAV4 is equipped with remote start straight from the Toyota factory, and I continue to have that remote start feature even with this head unit. I was a little worried that I would lose that feature by going with this aftermarket unit, but that is not the case. I can be inside of my house, remotely start my RAV4, and while this is on and connecting to my Wi-Fi, it can update the apps from the App Store. It can sync my emails, my music, my downloaded videos. I'm pretty sure I can create a more complicated system where I can send material to this wirelessly and it can download that while this RAV4 is connected to my home network. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opportunities to take advantage of that sort of feature. Another question was asked, why did I choose the Dasaita head unit? I didn't choose Dasaita, they chose me. They sent me out this product to do a couple videos and reviews on, and they're letting me keep the product, so I'm very happy about that. Dasaita is this quality brand among Sony and Kenwood that make aftermarket head units that you can trust. So from the longevity perspective, I feel pretty confident going with this brand if I had to pay out of pocket. There is an HDMI port that comes out of this head unit. I haven't tested it, but from what I read in the manual, it provides signal out of the head unit to another display. So if you had TVs in the back of your RAV4, you would be able to connect it to this head unit and all passengers could watch the same material. It doesn't accept a signal, so you can't connect your PlayStation or something, but you can all watch the same thing if you connect other TVs to it. I did reach out to Dasaita and ask if they will provide updates to the head unit. They said yes. They didn't give me any further details on when or what we can expect. Since this is an Android device, it kind of starts with Google making new updates and then the manufacturer customizing those updates for the head unit. From my experience with Android and other companies like Samsung, those updates rarely come to the user. So you're kind of stuck with what you get. And overall, this is good the way it is. I probably wouldn't even bother updating it because I don't want to change what works, especially for a complicated system like an Android device and one that connects with the car. This head unit has a couple wires that come out of the head unit and into the environment. Two of them go into here. So this is where I have my USB input for Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. I can probably also plug in a USB thumb drive if I wanted to transfer music or movies. The GPS, I went into the same location as this, except I continued that way up the A pillar and I went over here. The stickiness of the GPS isn't so great, so it does fall off frequently. I might need to just get something else. Over here I have the microphone. This head unit does have a built-in microphone, and I am able to receive, or I am able to provide my voice to the listener on the phone without any issues. So I'm probably just going to remove this completely so I have less wires running around my my dashboard. One thing that I'm going to explore is taking the USB wires that come out of the head unit, and instead of going to the glove box like I did over here with these two wires, I'm going to connect it to this accessory that I purchased. There's two ports right here that if I can plug those, or if I can wire those USB cables into here, I'll be able to have my Android Auto and Apple CarPlay ports right here instead of going over there, which would be pretty cool. So check out my other video on this accessory if you're more interested. This is basically the replacement of the double slot organizer with 3 different slots and 2 USB ports in the front. I have removed the head unit from the RAV4. what I want to do is remove this cover and see if how much clearance I have along the side to see if I can do my own mounting using sheet metal tapping screws. So we're going to remove this screw over here and then the other one on the other side and see if this thing comes off. I got the top cover removed. It was simply moving both of those screws and then kind of prying it off. You can see from the inside it's pretty basic. You have your probably control board here. Your HDMI connects to your control board. You have a GPS wire. There is a micro SD slot on the side so you can expand your memory. I didn't realize that. You have your GPS. This is your GPS. This is your Wi-Fi. And if I look at the sides over here, it does look like there's enough clearance to put in maybe a short screw. I'll have to bring in that bracket. I'll have to put this inside actually, and then get a Sharpie to mark where it would line up over here and over here, and see if I'll be able to do some proper mounting. When you put your bracket back inside, make sure you mount it, and then make sure that this thingy is vertical such that the cover can close, because you don't want this thingy to be like this and then you Sharpie it and then you won't be able to get your cover back on. So you need to make sure that this is in the correct orientation. Make sure that it's all clipped into place, and then you'll want to Sharpie it. So you can see that from this hole we're sort of at the I guess the crease of the lid and the base, and then in the back probably the same thing. It's just it's harder to Sharpie over there. So from what we saw, this hole goes into here, so I'll probably just try to force something in there. And then this back hole, it does look like it might be able to fit inside one of these vent holes. So if I were to put it there, maybe one of those holes in the back could be the other support location. So I'm going to go ahead and screw these guys in there and see what it looks like. So that's what it looks like. I got one screw in here in that open little hole up there, and then one inside of the vent holes in the back. And then this is now way more secure. I just need to make sure that this thing fits. So if we go back to this side, we have one here, and then one, I'm not sure if it's this hole or the top hole, but one of these holes is where it fits flat with the rest of the head unit. So let's take this back inside of the Rav4 and see if this is good alignment. Okay, so we got the bracket connected to the head unit with the screw over here that went into that little opening, and then one more into the back that went into the vent. Then I took that bracket and I mounted it to the normal mounting points on the Rav4. I did the same thing to the other side, and it fits just fine. We now have a head unit that is secured to the Rav4. It's a bit embarrassing to send out a product that doesn't have the proper fitment, but that's why you subscribe to channels like my own to go through this sort of work so you know what you're getting into before you spend your money. Sweet. I think I'll conclude the video here. It's gotten quite long and I apologize about that, but I do want to be thorough with this head unit and other people's questions and concerns. If you do have additional questions, you can certainly leave it in the comments section. If I can't answer it in the comments section, I'll consider making a video with it, especially if there's a lot of questions or some new major rollout of updates come out. Otherwise, I think this is everything you need to know about this head unit. I have several more videos coming up, so stay tuned, subscribe, and I'll see you later.